No one else can afford to spend millions and millions of dollars per year on reversing aging and slowing down that process. What do you say to them?
It's accessible to everybody. There's power laws here for benefits. So I'll give you some practical things that people can do. One is treat sleep like a lighthouse. There's a funny story where there's a Navy captain woken up, goes to the top of the ship and gets a radio. I'm using the wrong words here. Gets a radio from another ship that says, we're heading your direction. We're going to collide. Change your course by 30 degrees north. And the radio back, no, you change yours 20 degrees north. And he says, I'm a 4-star blankety blank with leading this thing and flexing all his power. And then gets a radio back. I'm a lighthouse. Sleep is a lighthouse. You never have authority to negotiate with sleep. No social event, no late night work assignment, no movie, nothing has the authority to change sleep. So number one, the highest value thing anyone can do in their life, establish a bedtime and go to bed at that time every single night, never fail. And then you can do other things to optimize sleep. For example, like I eat my last meal of the day at noon. So I have, almost 8 to 10 hours of digestion time. So when I go to bed, I'm not full, which is really helpful. I also don't drink alcohol anymore. I used to drink 3 ounces a day in the morning. I don't anymore. Not because it's bad, just because I couldn't afford it from a caloric perspective. But anyways, that aside, go to bed at the same time. I watch what you eat because sometimes what you eat can lessen the quality of your sleep. I have the fortunate circumstances where I can sleep in my own room, which is helpful. Not everyone has that. If you can sleep by yourself, I have a blacked out bedroom, so it's entirely devoid of light. And then I do a lot of sound control. Anything that's going to sleep, it change my disturbance. But getting control of your sleep is the number one highest value thing in your entire life. The difference between hope and despair is getting a good night's sleep. Number two is identify the worst version of yourself. So for me, as Evening Bryan, everybody has an Evening Bryan in them. Identify who they are, when they show up, what arguments they tell you to do, and fire them. So they're the person that's most responsible for your most self-destructive behavior that makes the rest of you feel awful. But recognize this self-destructive thing. And so even if you just get those 2 basic things in place, you're well on your way. So many people make funny self-aware comments while they'll be watching my content online and they'll say, I'm watching it and it's 3 a.m. and I've got a bag of Doritos in my hands. And, so you can win in big ways just by getting basics right in life. You don't need to do all the fancy stuff I do. Just get sleep right, get the self-destructive behavior right. If you're feeling good about those steps of progress, you can then do other things like eat more vegetables, eat more berries, but you can just slowly step into this. But getting those are the hardest 2 things to get into place. And if you can succeed at those 2 things, everything else becomes so much easier.
I know you have this team of 30 doctors that do all of the research and advise you on all of this. What are the insights that they are bringing to you? Besides the sleep and food, what else have they shared with you that you think our audience can benefit from?
What I've been trying to do is, in the world of health and wellness, there's thousands of opinions. Choose your guru. And what I've tried to say is, there's going to be no opinion from Blueprint. It's just data, scientifically valid data. And I've tried to punch through all the noise and say, I'm going to share everything I do and all my data. And so therefore you have a clean understanding of, if you do Blueprint, a rough idea of what you're going to achieve with your health. Because otherwise, if you're talking about any kind of take your guru diet, there's no data conversation, whatever their story is. And so I've tried to make it easy. So if someone says, I want to be a better version of myself, they say this one thing, I can trust it because there's data behind it. So I've tried to bridge the trust issue, which everyone has. And because a lot of people just jump from thing to thing to thing and it doesn't work. And then they do what you said, which is they do a thing for a while and then they kind of burst in flames and they become worse. So it's like incrementally getting worse every time. So I'm trying to make it easy to say, if you want to be a better version of yourself, don't worry about doing all the research yourself. Don't worry about reading blogs, listening to podcasts. Like, you don't have to go into the scientific literature and research it. I've done it for you. Here's a protocol. Just try to solve the things that stop you from doing these things, like sleep, like self-destructive behavior. Like, just focus on those things, but don't. A lot of people will be like, do you take NR or NMN? Do you take this or that? And it's like, no. Like, just get the basics right, and then you can optimize for those fine-tuned